Well, it is that time of year again when thousands of people across the country are giving up the grog for Dry July. So it's a timely reminder of the dangers of drinking, with more than 6 million Aussies regularly consuming alcohol to get drunk.
So is there a way to really change our habits and reduce our love of booze for good? And some personalities more prone to falling into bad habits? Well, best-selling author and alcohol reduction specialist Georgia Foster tackles these issues in her brand new book that is called Drink Less in 7 days.
And Georgia joins us now. Georgia, hello and welcome.
Thank you.
The number of drinkers across the country this year is up. It's from 82%, used to be 77%. Why do you think that is? Why has it got such a hold over us?
I think there's a lot of reasons why. I think generally alcohol is a really good fix to calm your nerves, anxiety, sleep issues. And I think we've got to remember social interaction here with Twitter and Facebook. We're busy the whole time. And I actually think one of the reasons why it's going up is because we're quite shy by nature. And I think, you know, alcohol makes us feel calmer or safer or more confident or more sexy or more witty. But you can actually do that sober. You don't need to drink.
We're 5 days into Dry July, and for our viewers who are participating, good luck with that. We hope it's all going really well. It is a great initiative.
Yeah.
And it's fair to say most participants will go back to their old ways. I did it, and I know that I had a group of friends at the end, and we'd go out and celebrate and have a beer once we got to the end of it. Why is that? Why do we have this fallback reliance on alcohol?
Well, I think it's brilliant to abstain, don't get me wrong, but the issue is that the mind works on patterns of behaviour. So if your history is drinking in a certain way, even if you abstain for a month or 6 months or whatever, your brain will go back into default. And that's part of what the book is about. It's training your mind not to go into default so that you can actually make a decision about drinking in a different way. And that obviously is having healthier coping strategies.
So you mean we need to actually reduce the amount we drink normally as opposed to having a period of nothing and then going back to normal? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think what's really important to understand that drinkers, you know, a lot of them are ashamed or embarrassed and they tend to do sneaky drinking. And I think people worry about what they drink because it's socially still a taboo subject. And unlike if somebody is overweight or smokes too much, people feel embarrassed, so they won't talk about it, which ironically can make them drink more.
Okay.
Now, when people drink too much, their personalities tend to change, and you've identified a number of these personalities. So let's go through them. We want to start with the inner critic. Talk us through that.
The inner critic is the driver to drink. It's the negative part of the brain that causes the anxiety and the chemical reaction of stress. So what we know is that alcohol shuts the critical part of the brain down. So people aren't actually getting hooked into the alcohol, they're getting hooked into the dopamine that is actually induced when you actually drink alcohol. And that's when the negative thinking actually just goes away. So people are actually hooked into that feeling rather than the alcohol.
What about the perfectionist?
Well, the perfectionist is the all or nothing. So after Dry July, get to 1st of August, they'll probably binge or blitz it. And I think, you know, perfectionists are very high achievers. They're either all or nothing. They're either drinking or not drinking, dieting or not dieting. And they are highly anxious people who set realistic goals, but sometimes then, because they try to achieve so much, then they drink just to get away from it all.
You've identified another one of these as the pleaser.
Yeah, the pleaser is the nurturer, and they tend to have low self-esteem. They drink to communicate. They also drink because they've run themselves ragged looking after everybody else. And they think, you know what? I mean, they tend to be the regular heavy drinker, whereas the perfectionist is more, will abstain for a bit. So the pleaser is the one that may seem weak in nature, but they have the inability to say the word no, and they can get themselves into some tricky situations.
How do you keep these inner personalities at bay when you're drinking?
Well, the goal of the book, and obviously, you know, I run seminars on this regularly, is what people need to realise is that the inner critic is just one voice. Now, we know it's a primitive part of the brain, but it doesn't hold any truth. It doesn't have a crystal ball. So I always encourage people that you need to train your mind to tune out the inner critic. Because who you are, I mean, nobody wants a hangover. Nobody wants to feel anxious and under par the next day. You've got to realise that, you know, drinking is okay. You know, the odd hangover is okay. But if you're regularly drinking to please others or to feel that you have to communicate, I mean, a lot of people, in particular pleasers, you know, the goal is to build assertive social confidence without a glass in your hand, you know, because self-esteem is a big thing for a lot of drinkers.
Is the Australian culture making this a tough debate because we kind of drink to celebrate, we drink to mourn, we drink to comfort, we drink for dinner and everything, right? It's kind of a lot of drinking going on.
The Aussies are good at it, aren't they? Yeah. But, you know, I think that we need to separate the good drinking, the fun drinking versus the medicinal drinking. And it's the medicinal drinking that the book covers. You know, I talk about a lot of clients. I mean, I've been in the coalface for 22 years as a practitioner with this particular subject. It's my absolute favourite subject because I see so many people suffering in silence. And what makes it difficult for drinkers is because they feel there's something wrong with them. And I'm saying, please, there's nothing wrong with you. You're an amazing person. You've got yourself a bit of a bad habit.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you can change it.
Georgia, quickly for people who want to drink less, what are some tips?
Well, the top tip is make a decision not to try and do, you know, from going from 1 bottle of wine or 1.5 bottles of wine or 10 beers a night to reduction. Because if you try and do too much, you need to exercise yourself to practice drinking less. Incorporate water. Hydrate yourself with more water than the beer or the wine. And make sure, this is a really important thing, make sure you keep a diary to understand what are your emotional triggers. Are you stressed? I mean, I think when people get to 50, for example, they think, well, I'm in my 50s, oh, I should be more financially savvy, or, you know, I think people think as you get older you get more wiser about certain things, but sometimes, you know, the alcohol creeps up and the tolerance increases too.
This will make a lot of sense to a lot of people watching this morning. Georgia, thank you very much for your time today. We appreciate that.
Thank you. For more information, you can pick up Georgia Foster's new book. It's called Drink Less in 7 Days, and the book is out now.